terms that popped up the last 2 years as it relates to the world of work. The Great Resignation, referring to record numbers. Previously never even thought of, became the norm. What am I talking about? 4+ million people a month for 18, 19, 20 months. I haven't looked at it recently. Every month, 4+ million people changing jobs, musical chairs, which created all kinds of stress for people that were left behind. People chasing a bigger paycheck, only then to find out that they regretted it. So then we had a term called the Great Regret. How about quiet quitting? Quiet quitting, a phenomenon in 2022, describing, I'm just going to do the bare minimum. I'm not going to go above and beyond. I'm going to settle. All under the theme of, I don't want to get burned out. And so it became an anthem. Anti-work movement over the last 2 years exploded in social media platforms, primarily Reddit. Act your wage, another phrase. The anti-work movement refers to the idea of getting the most out of a work-free life. People literally looking into, how can I end the possibility, the reality that I've got to work? It's fascinating. I'm not going to break that down. I'm going to stay on message. Got a lot to cover in this segment. So, act your wage is the precursor to quiet quitting, which is just do the bare minimum. Don't go above and beyond. Just collect your paycheck and go home. Recent trends like quiet quitting or act your wage are simply a sign that people are reevaluating their life. And you just think about the amount of time you spend at work in your life. When people start reevaluating their life, work is a part of the deal. This is not hard to figure out. And I think it's tragic. I think it's misguided. When I do it or when you do it, when we try to separate our work life and our personal life. And what I mean by that is I don't mean boundaries. I'm all for boundaries. When I go home, I go home. I don't work at home very often at all. Our team would tell you that. They don't get emails from me at night or on the weekend. You know, I believe in boundaries. What I mean is to say that I have separate identities. You're a person at work. You are a person at home. You're a person. And to say that because I'm at work, I'm going to keep that totally separate from my thoughts and feelings, it's ludicrous. I mean, here we sit today. I was watching football last night, if you haven't seen it, but it was the story last night. I'm watching the football game with my son in my bonus room. Bills, Bengals. Young man, 24 years of age. Boom. Drops down, heart attack suffered on the field, hopefully makes it. But in those moments after the incident, as he laid on the field, being administered CPR and then taken off in an ambulance, and ESPN and all the commentators in studio, in the booth, everything stopped as it related to him as a football player. So that's a tragic and scary situation. But let's step back for a moment. If a football player who collapses on the field stops everything and everybody goes, man, we're canceling this game. We don't care about his career. We don't care about this. We are praying for this young man to live, to get better, right? Then the same is true of us in our work life. Like if we're suffering from burnout or we're dealing with really negative stuff in the office that is then affecting our home life, or the reverse is if our marriage is on fire, or our parenting and our kids and everything's a disaster or a dumpster fire or crazy stress or whatever at home, you're dragging that to work with you. So you've got people who have reevaluated their life, and when they reevaluate their life, they're looking at their work. All right? That's the context. So when people are overwhelmed, and they were during the pandemic, and they were prior to the pandemic, The issue is that employees have raised concerns or they have been afraid to raise concerns. And so what happened when the pandemic came in, people said, look, I don't feel like my concerns are being heard or will be heard. Here are that two classifications. I don't feel my concerns will be heard, or I don't think they have been heard. And so what they said was, I'm out. And there's new research from the Achievers Workforce Institute that said only 14% of employees strongly agree with the idea, the notion, that their company regularly seeks feedback on important issues. So let's flip that. 86% of employees go, my company doesn't actively seek feedback on things that matter to me, to the company. They're not listening to us. That's tragic. Leaders develop relationships with their team, with the people they lead, and as a result, they create trust in the organization. In other words, they create a safe space. And increasingly, there are less safe spaces. So if you are in a leadership position, because many of you are, and if you get promoted, you will get into a leadership position. Can I just tell you the real source of all of the burnout and the source of all of the Great Resignation and people changing jobs? Can I give it to you? There's one thing. All of it. The Great Resignation, quiet quitting, all of the anti-work stuff, it all comes down to one thing and one thing only. We have too many people that are managing and not leading. People that are in supervisory roles are managing, not leading. Now hear me. Managing looks like this. I listen. I distract. I delay. Just think of the very term managing. What is managing? Very different than leading. Managing is, got to keep all the marbles on the table. I got to keep, I got to just keep I got to keep the train on the tracks. Got to keep the train on the tracks. That's managing. I'm managing people. I am manipulating people. I really believe this. And I'm not saying if your title's manager that this is what you are. I'm saying there is a distinction between managing and leading. Managing is listening, then you're distracting and delaying. You know what leading is? Leading is listening, serving, and solving. Big difference. We need more leaders who listen, they serve, and then they solve. That's the difference. Let me give you an example. This is I don't know if this is a blog post from a website called Upworthy.com. And this thing went viral, not the article, but this post that they are sourcing. And I want to give you a real example of what a leader says and does, as opposed to a manager. The post was by Megan Witherspoon, a vice president of communications and mother of two. Certainly understands what it's like to be supported and cared for. And she went on LinkedIn, and this is what she posted. I do care that your daughter is home with yet another ear infection. I do not care that you'll be offline for 2 hours this afternoon for her doctor's appointment. I do care that your ailing mom needs hands-on care and her facility is understaffed. I do not care if you need to work a sync this week between meals, medications, and visiting hours. I do care that your dog is puking all over your rug right now. I do not care if you need to jump off our call to rush him outside and clean up the mess. It went viral because she said this at the end. I do care about you and the things you care about. I do care that you deliver quality work and perform at your best. I do not care when, where, or how you get your work done. Now that's the spirit of serving and leading. We need more of that.